Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Chicago PD Season 12, Episode 14, Can Intelligence Finally Solve That Open Case? Chicago PD returns with a new episode where Officer Adam Ruzek is the focus. Last week, Officer Kevin Atwater took the lead when a shooting happened in his neighborhood. The episode before that had Officer Dan Torres returning to a juvenile detention center where he had spent time as a teen. And we all remember that huge crossover event at the end of January where the folks at PD worked with Chicago Med and Chicago Fire during a crisis. An important story was left open-ended from earlier this season when a girl named Zoe was found at a crime scene. Intelligence discovered a serial killer had been murdering women and children in a multi-state crime spree. Left in his wake was Zoe, but much mystery surrounds the character. At the end of that episode, Zoe is kidnapped, presumably by the killer that Intelligence is chasing. The new episode returns to Intelligence trying to track down that serial killer and find Zoe before it's too late. Chicago PD Season 12, Episode 14 Synopsis. Ruzek grapples with his father's worsening condition while Intelligence searches for an elusive serial killer. Reads the full synopsis for the February 26 Chicago PD episode. The synopsis references Ruzek's ailing father, who has been suffering severe memory loss and confusion. His condition is worsening, likely meaning Ruzek will need help caring for him. For viewers who need to re-watch the episode where this story began, it was called Zoe, Chicago PD Season 12, Episode 10. TV promo for new Chicago PD episode. Below is the TV promo for Chicago PD Season 12, Episode 14 Marie. The brief footage gives flashbacks to the serial killer case involving Zoe, and then adds some new footage to show that new evidence has surfaced. It's a tense case with added stress as Ruzek tries to help his dad. Will Intelligence find Zoe in time? More news from the One Chicago shows. Chicago PD rumors tease a return to the show for actor John Seda, who played Detective Antonio Dawson on the hit drama. It would be a fun treat for viewers. A One Chicago Ladies' Night happened recently. The women of Chicago Med, Chicago Fire, and Chicago PD got together for food and fun. Chicago Med star Luke Mitchell is now a father. His actress wife just gave birth to their first child, and they shared some cute photos online. The episode opens in the dead of night. Chicago's streets are slick with rain, the city humming with late-night activity. Inside District 21, Sergeant Hank Voigt leans against his desk, rubbing a hand over his tired face. Before him, a case file sits open, a case that's haunted Intelligence for years. The case: the Emerson Street murders. 5 years ago, 3 men were shot execution-style in a warehouse on Emerson Street. The crime had all the markings of a gang hit, but no one talked. No witnesses, no leads, just dead ends and cold silence. Voigt and his team had chased every possible suspect, but the case went cold. Now, a tip has brought it roaring back to life. Detective Haley Upton and Officer Adam Ruzek sit across from Voigt, going over the new information. A confidential informant claims to have seen one of the missing murder weapons in a recent robbery. If they can trace the gun, it might finally crack the case. 5 years is a long time, Voigt mutters. But if this gun's still in play, someone knows what happened that night. The breakthrough. Kevin Atwater and Kim Burgess hit the streets, tracking down the informant. It leads them to a pawn shop in a rough neighborhood. The owner, a nervous man named Carlos Diaz, hesitates before handing over his transaction records. With a little persuasion, he points them to a small-time criminal, Miguel Soto, who pawned the gun just last week. The team moves fast, tracking Soto to a dingy motel. Ruzek and Atwater breach the door, finding Soto mid-drug deal. He tries to run, but Atwater tackles him, slapping cuffs on his wrists. The gun is found in a duffel bag under the bed. Ballistics later confirm it's one of the missing weapons from the Emerson Street murders. Voigt watches from behind the glass as Soto squirms in the interrogation room. He's not our shooter, Voigt says. He's just a link in the chain. A hidden connection. Haley Upton spends hours combing through phone records, bank transactions, anything that could connect Soto to the original crime. That's when she finds it. An old call log linking him to Ramon Ortiz, a former gang enforcer who vanished off the radar years ago. The same Ortiz who had once been a suspect in the murders but was never charged. "We bring him in," Voight orders. The confrontation. Ortiz is found living under a fake name in a rundown apartment on the city's south side. Halstead and Burgess stake it out, watching as he moves cautiously, like a man constantly looking over his shoulder. When they move in, Ortiz bolts. A foot chase through the alleyways of Chicago ensues. Burgess cuts him off at the end of a dead-end street, gun raised. "Don't make me do this, Ramon." Hands in the air, Ortiz finally surrenders. In the interrogation room, Voight plays it cool. He lays out the evidence: the recovered weapon, the phone records, the lingering suspicion. Ortiz stays quiet until Voight leans in, voice low and dangerous. "I think you want to talk," Voight says, "because I think you're tired of running." Ortiz exhales sharply. "I didn't pull the trigger," he admits. "But I know who did." The truth unfolds. Ortiz spills everything. The real shooter was a man named Daniel Vega, a ghost in the system who had been lying low in Mexico for years. But Vega's recently been seen back in Chicago, looking to settle old scores. The team scrambles. Time is critical. They work leads, tracking Vega to an abandoned warehouse where he's holed up with a crew of armed men. Intelligence gears up. Bulletproof vests, tactical strategy, every movement planned. The raid is swift and precise. Shots ring out, but intelligence moves like a well-oiled machine. Ruzek and Halstead secure the exits while Atwater and Upton breach the back. Voight and Burgess push forward, taking down Vega's men one by one. In the chaos, Vega attempts to slip away, but Voight catches him. "End of the road," Voight growls, pressing Vega against the wall. "You ran long enough." With Vega in cuffs, the case is finally closed. The aftermath. Back at District 21, the weight of the solved case settles over the team. 5 years of dead ends, frustration, and uncertainty, finally put to rest. "Took long enough," Atwater says, shaking his head. "Some cases never let go," Voight replies. "But we don't let go either." As the team leaves the precinct, the city glows in the distance. The streets keep moving, the job never done. But for one night, intelligence can breathe just a little easier.